In this video, we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough of the process for deploying the Reflect messaging extension for Teams in an education tenant. The Reflect messaging extension for Teams is a lightweight check-in solution for both education and enterprise customers alike. We built this tool to meet the growing need for teams in all types of organizations to check in with one another to better understand the well-being of their colleagues and to gauge how their team members are adjusting to the new remote learning and remote working scenarios. The Reflect application is really a chatbot that runs inside of Teams. There's two parts to this chatbot. The first one is the chat service itself that runs in Azure. The second part is the application for Teams that is the user interface, which gives people using Teams the ability to interact with that chat service running in Azure. The deployment process consists of four main steps. The first thing we'll do is go to the Azure admin portal and create a new Azure Active Directory application. The second thing we'll do is use an ARM template to create all the necessary resource groups and resources within Azure so that the Reflect bot service can run. The third thing we'll do is to set up this bot service in Azure to make sure that it can connect with users in Teams. The fourth and final thing we'll do is to take the Reflect manifest file, update it for our tenant specifically, and then install that application to Teams. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the first step is to create an app registration for the bot. This is going to generate the application ID and the app secret that we're going to use later when building the template. So here's what we do. We go to the Azure portal and we go to the app registrations page. Let's search for that. All right. From the app registration page, we're going to create a new registration. And we can give it a name. Any lowercase text string with no spaces should be fine. Let's call this Reflect Messaging Extension. Now we have to pick which account type. What we found in the past is that multi-tenant tends to be the one that works for most people, but if you have specific needs for your particular tenant, feel free to choose the one that is most appropriate for you. So we'll select that. No need to put a redirect URI, and we're just going to hit register. Now that the app is registered, we are here at the overview page, and what we're going to do is we're going to copy the application or ID or the client ID because we're going to need that later. So we're going to come here, copy that. On the side rail here in the Manage section, we're going to navigate to Certificates and Secrets. So right there. And in the Client Secret section, we're going to click on Create a New Client Secret. In this description area, we can enter anything, any description we want. So let's just call this Reflect Messaging Extension Secret. I'm going to let this go for 1 year and hit add. All right, the secret is created, and what we're going to do here is copy that secret. Paste that in a text file so we can access it later. Okay, step 2, we're going to deploy a new app template. Back to the Azure Dev portal, we're going to select Create a Resource. And the kind of resource we want to create is template. The best way to find that is to just search for template. And this is the one you want. Template deployment with the parentheses here, deploy using custom templates, because that's what we're going to do is create a custom template. And we're going to hit create here. Now from create, we're going to click on build your own template in the editor. So the deployment template is a JavaScript file. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here to GitHub. We're going to go to the deployment folder in the main repository. We're going to open up reflect arm template.json, and we're basically going to copy everything that we see here and paste that into our template. So we're just going to replace everything here should be good. So once we've done that, we're going to click on Save. Okay, now that we've saved that, we're presented with a few fields here. Something to note about this screen is even though the couple of the parameters here, Web App Service and Bot ID, don't appear to be required, we found it's necessary to put something in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put something in for Web App Service. We could put pretty much anything in there. Something to note is it's important not to put spaces here. Azure does not like spaces, so let's just call this Reflect, as we've been calling it, messaging extension service. In the bot ID field, I'm going to put the bot ID that we saved from previous step, and the client secret, we're going to do the same thing. So get the secret, save it there. When we're done, we can review and create. If we're lucky, we get a full validation. Yep, looks like validation passed. And we can go straight to create. At this point, the deployment is actually in process. This is the ARM template that is deploying all the necessary services that the Reflect chatbot is going to need in order to operate in the Azure cloud. This takes a little bit of time. As it's doing that, you'll see different things come up and the status will eventually come up checked and everything's okay. Okay, deployment is complete. So just to recap, we've gone through step 1 and 2. In step 1, we created a application resource in Azure. Step 2, we actually deployed all of the services and resources in Azure so that that application could run. Again, this is the Reflect chatbot. So the Reflect chatbot now is capable of running in the cloud. The next thing we need to do, and we're going to start here in step 3, is we're going to connect this chatbot in the cloud to our Teams instance in our tenant. And here's how you do that. So the first thing we're going to do is from Azure, we're going to go and visit the resource group that we just created. And from this screen here, you're going to see the Web App Bot resource. This is what we're looking for right here. This was the one that was just created. Click on this. I'm going to be taken to a screen that will give me an opportunity to connect it to different channels. So what I'm going to find here is in the overview, there's a lot of different information. What I'm really looking for is channels on the left side. When I hit channels, you'll see that I'll have a few to choose from. We're going to choose Teams. And we have an option here. We can deploy this for Teams Commercial, which is by far the most common. You can technically also do it for government accounts. That is almost never the case. But if you happen to be a government customer, you can certainly choose that. So we're gonna select that and agree to the terms of service. Off we go. All right. So now the chatbot is capable of operating in Teams. Okay, so we have completely deployed the Reflect chatbot in the Azure cloud, and we have told that chatbot that we would like it to be able to communicate with Teams. So the last thing that we need to do is create an interface within Teams so that our users in our tenant can actually communicate with this chatbot. The way we're going to do that is we're going to upload a app for Teams. Apps for Teams are also known as manifest files. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a manifest file that is specifically configured to communicate with this instance of Reflect that we just deployed in the cloud. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go back to the GitHub repository, and I've got that pulled up here. We're going to look for this manifest folder. What I want you to do is to download the contents of this folder. There's 3 files in this folder. And when you get those down on your system, unzip them, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into this manifest.json file, and we're going to update 3 fields in there so that that particular version of Reflect knows how to communicate with your particular instance in the cloud, the Azure instance in the cloud. So I'm not going to show the exact customization here, but I will show you which fields you want to edit and what you want to put in there. So once you get this, these 3 files down in your system, open up in any text editor the manifest.json file. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to make 3 edits to this file. The first one is in line 5, and all you need to do here is put some unique value, some GUID. I recommend going to any GUID generator online. I use this one as an example, the GUIDgenerator.com, and create any unique GUID. Once you get that, copy that and put that in line 5. Now, a couple things to note. You want to delete everything between the quotation marks. So get rid of those curly brackets and all of that text, and all you want there are just those numbers and dashes and letters. The second field that you want to edit is line 31 here with the bot ID. Now, the bot ID, you'll remember in step 1 was the unique ID that we created when we were creating the registration in Azure. So what you want to do here is you want to find that bot ID that you saved from the first step, and you want to replace everything in between the quotes with that particular bot ID. You want to do that on line 31, and you want to do that on line 41. And this is how you customize this instance of Reflect to communicate with your individual instance of Reflect in the cloud. Once you have edited those three lines and put those fields in, what you're going to do is save that manifest.json file, and you're going to create a zip file with all 3 of those files in it. That's going to be your app that you upload to Teams. And so in the next step, I'm going to show you how we upload a custom app to Teams. And that is the user interface that is created so that your users in your tenant can then communicate with the chatbot. Okay, here I am in the Teams admin. This is in my tenant, so I've just gone to admin.teams.microsoft.com. This is where I can upload a custom app to Teams. So what I'm going to do is go right here to Teams app in this left rail, and I'm going to go to Manage Apps. And I'm going to add a new app to my tenant. The way to do that is you'll see a bunch of different apps that are maybe already in your tenant, and we're going to upload a new one. So the one that we're going to get, yes, it's a custom app. We're going to select a file. We're going to go find the file that is the zip file that we created with the custom manifest.json and the other 2 files as well. So this is the one that I created with the GUID that I had created for myself, as well as the application ID custom to the Azure instance that I just deployed. I'm going to hit open. And Teams is going to upload that app and make it available to users in my tenant. Now it says it's added, but let's just confirm. Yep, there it is. If I check on the status, it looks like it is allowed, and everything looks pretty good right here. So that is now available in Teams. I should be able to go to Teams now as a user. Here, I'll just log out, sign back in. And I'm back in Teams. Probably going to ask me if I want to use a tenant. I'm going to use the web app. Now, this is a Teams. This is the Teams instance in my tenant. You can see this is an educational tenant, and I've got different classes here. So what we can do is we should be able to go here now that it's installed, and you can see Reflect is available in the tenant. So as an individual user, what I can do is I can add Reflect to any one of the teams that I have, or in this case, classes, so that I can use it with students. In this case, maybe I'm a teacher and I want to use it with students. So what I'll do is add to a team. And I think we had one in there that was physical science. Yep. I'm going to add it to the general tab of the general channel of physical science. There you go. And you'll notice it says set up bot. I simply do that, and Teams should take me directly to physical science, directly to the bot, and gives me an opportunity to start interacting with the Reflect chatbot. As I mentioned before, Reflect is a chatbot, so there's a couple of different ways you can invoke it. You can see here we've got a menu that appears when you type in an @ mention for Reflect. So once you do something like that, it'll give you a menu. You can also come down here and invoke it straight from the messaging extension bar. And if I do that, or if I click the other option, the same things are going to happen. Basically, I get the user experience that you would expect to get. Now, as a teacher, I'm going to post something to my students. How'd you feel about today's project? Have them send it right now. And you can see that I was able to communicate with the bot instance in Azure that we deployed just a minute ago, and everything's working fine. So I am feeling pretty good